Hey guys, this is Adebisi here, and I'm going to be doing a commentary of a Terran versus Zerg on Slag Pits. We've got a Korean player here, rainbowzenith, spawning as the blue Terran, and his opponent only spawning as the red Zerg. So, I'm sure you're all wondering, I don't sound like Matron, and this is quite correct. Matron and I agreed to do some guest commentaries for each other's channels just to possibly gain a bit of exposure, so I'm excited to be here doing a commentary for Matron's channel. Big shout out to him, thanks for letting me do this, and you know, just any of his regular viewers, feel free to head over to youtube.com/Adebisistarcraft to check out my commentaries. A bit about me: I am I think I'm sitting at around 3,700 points, Masters League player. I do a lot of commentary on the side. I like to try and give a bit more of a high-level perspective, possibly, than a lot of the YouTube casters out there. So, yeah, that's kind of my gig. So feel free to take a look at my channel. I would love it if you would, and feel free to post up, you know, comments. I'm always looking for feedback, always looking for whatever. I like to answer questions, so, you know, whatever you got, feel free to hit me up. Meanwhile, taking a look at this game, our Terran player already doing something interesting here, not putting his first depot at the choke point. And with a map like this, you know, you might want to Slag Pits, a map notoriously hated by Zerg players. I'm sure this Zerg player, though, will be happy to see that his opponent is in that not extremely close rush positions, although it's still quite close here. And it looks like he's just going to let his opponent see the Overlord. He doesn't mind. He just wants to get right in there as soon as possible and see what opening the Terran player is doing, because it is going to be a 2 racks. And this is definitely one of the maps where a Terran player can take this 2 racks and do something ridiculously aggressive, ridiculously all-in, or they can just expand off it and even feint a lot of pressure, do all kinds of stuff. So it looks like he has indeed, well, now he's going to see the both backs. I'm sure by this timing here, a little tip out there, seeing, you know, this Overlord, he's going to know, based on timing such as relative to his own hatchery, how complete this barrack should be if it was the first one. So he instantly knows it's a 2 racks. Now just going to pull that Overlord back. This is a pretty good spawn to be able to keep an eye for drops. A lot of Terran players will like to expand, then transition, add in some mid-backs, and start dropping. Very easy for the Zerg player to spot that. And it looks like a bunker already coming down with the spawning pool just at half hit points, but no Marines rallied quite yet. Probably wants to wait for maybe 3 or 5. Maybe just trying to get some drones off mining time. You see 4 are pulled off prematurely here. But our Zerg player just wants to play nice and safe here, not taking his gas quite yet. And this is going to be tricky. This is a very difficult map to rely on spine crawlers because the choke point here is just so far forward. And there's that SCV going again, just going to keep making bunkers, trying to minimize as much mining time as possible. And oh boy, we've got 5 SCVs here, including the one already pulled. So this is going to be very, very aggressive. We've got 1 spine crawler coming up. There's a more forward position bunker there. And 10 Zerglings in production, 6 of which are about to pop. Immediately charging and gonna need to cancel that spine pronto. It does so at the very last second. Very nice control. And here come the drones and Zerglings, but oh boy, with that bunker finishing, things are going to get very nitty gritty, and a very misplaced Overlord here getting taken out, but actually buying a bit of time to get some free hits off. Well, just kind of buying time in general, but still not the position you want to be in. But he does have 2 spines, and these spines should be able to finish, and you know, spines obviously outrange Marines and bunkers, so if he can just keep those alive, he should not be in too bad of a spot. He is taking out a lot of SCVs, but this is a very, very hard spot for Zerg to be in. Keep in mind, though, he did bring about 6 SCVs here, so his economy is not going to be too strong. He's down at 12 SCVs only. It looks like he hasn't even been making more SCVs, which is a pretty big blunder. You can tell, you know, this is the Korean server. Players just love to do something ridiculously aggressive, and I believe he's only in range of the eggs and not actually the hatchery. So this is going to allow him just to position the spine crawlers. And the beautiful thing about this, Ling's coming in from the back here, trying to cut off reinforcements. The beautiful thing is here, generally, if you only have 1 spine crawler, he'll just unload all the Marines and focus fire it as you're repositioning. But having 2, he's going to be able to inch them up to be able to get in range of these bunkers and hopefully clean this up. He is at 14 drones to 14 SCVs. So not too great. There's a command center only starting just now, so if he can clean this up without taking too much damage, it won't be the worst thing in the world, but he has certainly taken a lot of damage. But still, only able to just slowly kill away these larvae. I'm really surprised he doesn't inch up, you know, one of these spines, but I think he's pretty worried. Might want to wait just to get more Zerglings out to get a nice critical mass. He does not have gas. Oh, he does actually have gas taking this, so he might be... I mean, you can't really expect to get banelings every time. And there he goes, actually moving up both of them. Very bold play. And is this too close? Oh, what a blunder. This is too close to the bunker. And now Terran player going to be falling off. Almost abusive right there. And that spine crawler does die, but he's just got so many zerglings. It looks like he will be able to clean this up indeed. And this was just a very, very solid defense from the Zerg player. I mean, he's already back to droning. He's like, well, you know, if this doesn't work, I'm dead anyway, so I might as well drone. Very smart decision making there. And you can see how many links this is. He is probably going to be able to deny this command center from floating out for quite a while. Terran player in the meantime has double gas, so expect probably some tech labs. He could also tech up, but he's probably going to want to get stim pretty soon here. Probably going to want combat shield, all that good jazz. But there goes a factory, in fact. So I'm incorrect on that call. Although, you know, in hindsight, I do actually like this choice here because, you know, he's not going to be aggressive. So you just kind of want to push on the low ground with bunkers, get your expansion up. And I'm not sure what he's going to tech to. It could easily be siege tanks. This spawn location in particular is quite abusive when it comes to siege tanks. Believe me, I'm a Terran player. I know. Ooh, 2 factories here. So this is most likely going to be the blue flame opening that is just increasingly popular. He's kind of forced his opponent to stay on low tech. Going to be relying on a lot of zerglings. So those Hellions are just going to do so well. This Overlord, what has he seen? He's seen 1 gas, and that's about it. No idea of these 2 factories, and a 3rd factory. Holy moly! So this is not how most players actually open blue flame Hellions, but this is a very intriguing way to do it. I'm going to expect these 2 are just going to be naked for a while, and it makes it a bit easier to get out a ton of Hellions early on, and then transition because you're not, you know, trying to swap on a reactor to one of the factories and so on. So here goes the command center floating out. You see a bunker going up in that 4 position, and there is a Zergling here spotting. So we're going to see how he wants to react to this. He's looking pretty confident here. Ooh, very nice SimCity. I like this choice, but Lings are already charging in, and if he can surround those Marines, nope, not going to get too bold, but he should be able to deny the bunker and force a lift off. Meanwhile, we do a blue flame, and going to be triple Hellion production any second. There we go. And this is going to set him up for a very strong mid-game here, but please be careful, taking a lot of damage on that Orwell command center. Meanwhile, Spire, Evo Chamber, more gas geysers coming up, but still no idea of these Hellions getting pumped out. And that's certainly very dangerous. This Overlord, once again, Marine here, denying any scouting. Very, very solid play. Quite impressed by both these players. Once again, it's rainbowzenith and a money scan going down. Sees that Spire and says, okay, well, I'm going to move out when that thing is probably about 2/3 done. Well, I guess whenever blue flame is done, really, which is, I think, going to line up with about 2/3. So super solid play there. You can see just pretty good stuff, you know. Here it is. Wow, 50 drones to 26 SCVs. Zerg players just been droning insanely hard, but when all of these Hellions come out, 8 Hellions, here they go, moving out. Blue flame just finishing, wants to make sure that finishes just as he arrives at his opponent's base. Doesn't want to give any extra time for mutas to go out, because once those mutas come out, it is like the gig is up. So here he goes. Might just kill the queen. Not a bad choice at all. Looks like he just wants to get right in there, though. Maybe overextending the mouse here. Oh, man, getting very surrounded here. A couple Hellions still surviving, though. Able to kite and kite and kite. Really not the best positioning there, and not losing a single drone here. That is not how that attack is supposed to go. But, of course, it is slag bits. Just a very, very narrow position here for the Terran to push with siege tanks, so he could still do a lot of damage. Looks like he's just going to stick with Hellions for now. There's no engineering bay and only a tech lab getting made just now, so these mutas could do a ton of damage. You really need either an engineering bay or an armory. Meanwhile, another hatchery going down. We got the Baneling nest coming up, and mutas are just slowly popping out. Also adding in a macro hatch here. Great choice given the fact he's already up at 47 drones. Very nice drone count. You can see the Terran player trying to catch up with SCVs, double producing SCVs, but still going to be behind for quite some time, and these mutas are going to make life a bit difficult. Meanwhile, more Hellions coming in, probably going to force those mutas back, and only may not have been expecting this. Generally, only one wave of Hellions will come, so he does kill that queen. It looks like he's just going to be scouting for additional expansions, as our Zerg player is actually double expanding. Pretty bold move, and this is actually quite genius here. He's just trying to buy time. He's like, well, you know, he might just assume that there's a 3rd up, and so he's just going to try and buy time, dance around, because he knows he has no turrets. You see how late this engineering bay is. It looks like he was building an armory and then canceled it. I'm quite curious about that. Looks like he restarted it. Maybe I'm just reeling from all the amount of crack I've smoked today. I don't know, but very, very solid play here. Looks like a Roach Warren coming down as well. just thinking, you know, if you're going to stick with these Hellions, I might just want to get out some Roaches, because Lings don't really do the trick when you've got a critical mass. And it looks like he is actually getting the ranged attack, so very solid play there. I think he might be expecting just the heavy mech play, because he just knows how many Hellions. I might not predict 3 factories, but there is indeed 3 factories. Let's take a look here. Has he seen the 3 factorials? No, he has not. Meanwhile, Hellions continue to move across the map, and these Mute has not really been able to do too much damage. It looks like the natural is actually completely wide open on the mineral line, and these Hellions are going to deny all the drones here, but you can still see that Zerg player can kind of afford to lose a ton of drones, but he's going to lose a ton of Zerglings here, pulling those Lings back smartly. Very good choice. Needs to be careful though, losing a ton more Lings, and these Hellions have been quite effective here. Either way though, this expansion is up, and a ton of spine crawlers have built. The extractors are ready to go, and this extractor, or this hatchery, is also up as well. So things are looking very solid for a Zerg player after an extremely shaky start. But he is making Thors and tanks and upgrades and all that other good jazz. I believe STEM is finished. Yes, indeed. 3 reactors, barracks. No starport actually, although he's building one now. So pretty delayed starport relative to how things often work out. But a pretty strong unit composition either way. He's down about 20 supply in his opponent, basically all of that being workers. He actually only has 24 Marines out right now. And these Mutas just plowing through the turrets, but it looks like he's got enough SCVs to keep that turret alive. That could have been very bad, but quick repairing there, saves the day, not losing too many SCVs. Pretty even game, despite the fact that Zerg is up quite a lot of supply. Terran going to be able to pump out so many units. You see these Thor coming out. There's not going to be much of an opportunity for Mutalist Harass anymore at all, really. And the big question now is the Terran player going to try and get a 3rd base up, or is he just going to do the old Korean, I think I'll do a 2-base timing attack kind of thing, which is pretty typical and certainly pretty good on this map. And I gotta say, whoopsie, let's go on busy. For anyone who actually usually looks on my channel, you'll know that I'm pretty fail about being on busy. Either way, here come these Mutas again. I think they're going to get denied pretty easily. But very important to be active. Try and keep that Terran player pinned back. You know, keep scouting. Usually the command center will be getting built, you know, around the edge right here. So if you can see that, it gives you a lot of information. But, you know, in this kind of position now, he's just so pinned back. I really think the 2-base timing is really the only hope he has to win this game. If he just tries to play passively and expand, the bases are just kind of too spread out on this map, and the Zerg player has so much map control. So here comes a pretty scary looking push. I believe he's got +1 attack on all of his units here. No, looks like he might have canceled that. I swear guys, he was upgrading his looks like stimming a few Marines in front. See some Banelings morphing in. There's just a ton of Roaches out here sieging up those tanks. Only 1 medevac here, so Stim comes at a very big premium. Needs to pull back, make sure that he's in range of those tanks. Banelings coming in, no Baneling speed though, so Banelings not do take out about 4 or 5 Marines there, but most of the Banelings, not all the Banelings, are now dead. We got just Zerglings in production. Gonna slowly inch up those tanks. This medevac certainly has his work cut out for it, and the Zerg player is just gonna try and delay as long as possible. He's got scouting across the map. He says, no, there's no expansion here. This is all you've got. I just need to hold here. He might end up losing a base or 2, but all he has to do really is just crush this army. It looks like Terran player is gonna slowly be reinforcing this and just, you know, using the tanks as the base of operations, and just, you know, using the rest of his army like octopus arms, just extending out. And he is doing a great job here, but it looks like these Thor are gonna get Thor almost taken out. I'm kind of surprised he didn't bring, you know, just a couple SCVs to help repair up those units. And Marines once again charging and gonna ignore those overlords. Knows that his opponent should be well under his supply cap, which he is indeed. More Marines streaming in here, and it is just chaos on slag. It's very appropriate to the map name, I gotta say. That's one thing. A lot of players will insult this map, but I think the one thing Blizzard did right with this map is naming it Slag Pits. This is, you know, Slag Pits. I think it's a perfect name. But anyway, you can see he's just entrenching this position, but still the Zerg economy is going strong, up at 78 drones now. That is just ludicrous. But in terms of units, Zerg player really doesn't have too much at all. He's got 11 Roaches, a couple Lings out, morphing, and more Banelings. But the Marines here are just so resilient. Baneling speed has finished though, which is going to make it a lot harder to keep using these Marines. Roach is charging in here, focusing down tanks. Looks like another one does go down. Not too many tanks left. And I gotta say, things are looking pretty good for the Zerg player, but once again, it's just such a fragile situation here. It looks like going to be, is he even going to go for drones here? Because it's almost at the point where killing drones is just not too useful. You kind of need to like cut into the production capabilities. And oh, beautiful play here. Roach on the high ground, really messing things up. Very difficult to multitask on your opponents, constantly being annoying, stuff like that. Tank re-sieging up Lings, cleaning up a lot of these Marines, but going to get cleaned up themselves. Smartly pulling those back. Very nice control here from both players. This is just constant action while they are both macroing up. Looks like the money very low for both players, except for the Zerg player's gas, which makes a lot of sense here. This is definitely the kind of time where you want to take just a second and pull your drones off gas, because all you're doing here is spamming roaches, spamming zerglings, spamming banelings. You're not able to get any nice infestors, mutas, corruptors, broodlords, ultras, any of that stuff. You just can't spend your gas on that. And here he goes, charging into the main base. A couple roaches here, drones coming off the line, and kiting back to that siege tank range. So good here. And things are suddenly looking pretty good for the Terran here. He is up at 111 supply against his opponent's 56. Wow, what a crazy game here. This is action-packed all game long, but Zerg player is definitely not out yet, but this is certainly the point where I think he needs to start making a new lair. He just needs to sack everything, and he might have just overcommitted to defending his main here. Because once again, you can see it's so close to being mined out. He does have 2 additional bases up. He could have kind of just sacked his main, but I really thought he would have been able to hold this attack, but Terran player, man, his control was just too good. And really, you know, taking advantage of like this point really makes it hard for Zerg to get a flank off, all that kind of stuff. He did a good job. Could have maybe cleaned up some more of the creep, and now he's just going to go ahead, push into the main, and it's kind of at the point now where the Terran player, this is 9 tanks. That is kind of the critical mass of tanks where it's just like, well, ground units, they don't work so well anymore, especially with this Conan Marines here. You can see he's just given up entirely on upgrades. He's got to be getting pretty poor too, that's the thing, and yeah, you gotta, this is what you call a mild oversaturation on that mineral path. And sieging up, and all this tech is just going to get destroyed, and it doesn't look like there's really been any effort to remake any of that tech. He is throwing up a bunch of spines. Of course, spines not going to be too useful, and ooh, we do have a bunch of banelings moving across the map though. And I think he might be wise to this, so he's going to pull things back, and ooh, just narrowly missing each other there. And with the main dead, all the tech dead, let's take a look. What can the Zerg player make? He can make drones and overlords, so not looking, whoops, not looking good at all for the Zerg player. He's just got a couple of Lings posturing in the center of the map. He is in a ton of trouble. And Tank's just not even bothering to siege up at this point. He knows he can't really be killed right now, or at least he knows his opponent is going to be sacrificing that entire base. And unfortunately, only being able to make drones and overlords is not really a good position. Nonetheless, the Terran player not going to get cocky here, just going to slowly siege up and then inch his units forward. Very smart thing to do, scanning, making sure the creep turns are out, making sure there's no burrowed banelings. Burrowed banelings, whenever you're ahead as Terran. Oh, Tank's unsieging in a very unopportune time there, but fortunately he's got 20 gajillion tanks, and there's the only has left the game. So very solid play there from Rainbow Razor. Just you know, 2 base all in. That's how you do it on the Korean server. As long as you know he's still a bunch of minerals left here. Look at all that jazz. So that's gonna finish off this commentary. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Be sure to check out my channel. If you enjoyed this commentary, if you didn't, that's fine. Feel free to leave some feedback. I'm always down to hear some feedback. And yeah, I guess that's about it. Peace out, guys.